I got better results meditating for the short time it took me to urinate than those lazy bastards did meditating all night.
Okay, wow. Let's unpack that one.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, a quote from our subject today, Ajaan Jia Cundo, that just kind of hits you, doesn't it? It's sheer unconventionality.
It really does.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are diving deep into the world of this, remarkable Buddhist monk through his autobiography, Gold Wrapped in Rags.
And what's so fascinating here, I think, is that this book, it's freely available to everyone. It's not some, stuffy academic text.
Oh.
It's raw. It's often surprisingly funny, actually. And it's a deeply personal journey. It gives us this direct connection to the experience, the wisdom of a truly dedicated spiritual practitioner.
Exactly. And uncultured, that's a description you often hear linked with Ajaan Jia. He was known for this incredibly direct, maybe even blunt way of speaking. But beneath that sort of rough exterior was this just unwavering commitment to spiritual excellence.
And it's also important to remember why this book even exists. It's based on recorded interviews from near the end of his life, and his intention was really clear. He wanted to ignite faith in traditional Buddhist practices, the ones that lead to liberation.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, this desire to inspire faith, it speaks directly to that resurgence of traditional monastic life in early 20th century Thailand, the forest tradition.
Ah, yes.
This whole movement emphasized living in nature, really strict self-discipline, intensive meditation. Ajaan Jia's story is just deeply woven into this powerful spiritual revival.
So to really understand the man, we need to go back a bit.
Yeah.
Picture the early 1900s, southeastern China, just a really harsh place for peasant farmers.
Incredibly difficult.
Droughts, floods, even widespread lawlessness. These really tough conditions pushed his father to emigrate to Thailand, just looking for a chance at a better life. He eventually settled on the southeastern coast, and it was right there in 1916 that Ajaan Jia Cundo was born.
And that backdrop, the socioeconomic hardship, it's crucial.
Yeah.
It likely instilled in Ajaan Jia, probably from a very young age, this deep-seated resilience, a powerful work ethic.
Yeah.
Qualities that would definitely fuel his intense spiritual pursuits later in monastic life.
Absolutely. And speaking of his early life, he had this very distinctive birthmark, and there was this strong local belief tied to it that people with this mark were like solid as a rock.
Oh. Interesting.
Capable of enduring any hardship life through their way. It's almost like a bit of foreshadowing, isn't it, for the incredibly demanding ascetic practices he'd later embrace.
It really is interesting how those early beliefs, those observations, can shape how a person sees themselves, maybe even influence the path they take.
Totally.
The idea of being able to withstand anything certainly resonates with the immense challenges of forced monasticism.
He wasn't just some stoic kid, though. He was apparently brimming with youthful energy, a real go-getter spirit, selling goods by boat. And get this, he was an amazing swimmer. There's this story about him chasing a rooster in the canal.
A rooster?
Yeah. Had his friends completely panicked, and even as a young boy, he was a dedicated worker in the family business.
So it paints this picture of someone active, resourceful, definitely not afraid of hard work.
Right.
And these seemingly worldly skills, perseverance, diligence, they'd later become invaluable assets, for the dedication needed in deep meditation.
But he also had this very stubborn streak, a real refusal to be taken advantage of.
Okay.
There's this incident with a durian, and then a confrontation with a Chinaman at the pier that really highlights this headstrong nature. He wasn't someone to back down easily.
That strong will, though, while it might have caused some friction when he was younger, you can also see it as the foundation for that unwavering determination later on. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
That same refusal to give in when facing internal obstacles in meditation.
And he was a busy young man.
Yeah.
Trading in all sorts of stuff, even coffin planks, shrimp paste, pumpkins.
Wow, coffin planks.
It really gives you a vivid sense of the local economy and just how resourceful he was within it.
Yeah, those specific details really ground his early life in that time and place. It wasn't some sheltered existence. He was right in the thick of it, the practical realities of making a living.
Now, amidst all this activity, there's this kind of pivotal moment. He's sailing to Elephant Island, a storm hits.
Right.
And his grandmother had taught him this simple meditation, just repeating Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha.
The refuges.
Exactly. And during this terrifying storm, focusing on that mantra actually helped him overcome his fear. It's like an early seed of his spiritual life being planted.
That's a powerful early experience. It shows how even a basic introduction to Buddhist principles can offer a refuge, a source of inner strength in a crisis.
Yeah.
It's often in those intense moments that we become more receptive to something beyond just the material world, you know?
Fast forward a bit, and his decision to enter monastic life seems to come completely out of the blue. Yeah, especially given his lack of previous religious involvement and his reputation as a bit of a troublemaker. Even his own family and friends were apparently quite surprised.
That unexpected turning point. It's a common thread in the lives of many spiritual figures, isn't it? There's often this dissatisfaction with the conventional path, or some sudden inner prompting that leads them down a route nobody expected.
And it wasn't some profound spiritual awakening that led him to put on the robes initially. No, he actually intended to disrobe after just a short period to marry his girlfriend.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. It was more of a temporary plan, a way to accumulate some merit before settling down.
Okay, that adds a very human dimension to it all. Not driven by deep renunciation at first, but a more conventional motivation.
Right.
It highlights how the spiritual journey can sometimes begin in the most unexpected, most ordinary ways.
But things definitely started to shift during his rigorous training under Ajaan Kongmaa. For months, he was a white-robed postulant, just immersed in learning everything.
The basics.
Yeah, intricate ordination procedures, precise Pali chanting, foundational meditation practices. Ajaan Kongmaa was deeply committed to the traditional ways of the forest monks.
And that demanding initial training was absolutely essential. It laid the crucial groundwork, the monastic discipline, the mental resilience needed for deeper meditative practice. Think of it like an intense apprenticeship in, spiritual development.
And it was during this time that he started to grasp this fundamental Dhamma principle that real, true, lasting happiness isn't found in worldly attachments.
The big one.
Yeah, not in pursuing material possessions, the very things his parents were so focused on. He began to glimpse the possibility of happiness through detachment.
That's a profound shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It's the dawning realization that the very things we often chase, hoping for happiness, are actually potential sources of suffering.
Because they're impermanent.
Exactly, because they're impermanent and they lead to clinging, to attachment.
Now, there's this really fascinating story about a villager's dream. White elephants transforming into a white chicken right around the time Ajaan Kongmaa arrived at the monastery. And then, incredibly, a white chicken actually appeared at the monastery.
Whoa.
The local community saw this as this powerful omen, especially since Ajaan Jia eventually became Ajaan Kongmaa's first ordained disciple.
Those seemingly coincidental events, they often take on much deeper significance within spiritual communities. They can act as powerful symbols, reinforcing faith in the teacher and the validity of the path.
And Ajaan Jia just threw himself into Buddha meditation. He made this unwavering resolution to overcome his own internal enemies, as he called them, with the same diligence, the same commitment as the Buddha's enlightened disciples.
That kind of resolute determination is absolutely key. Meditation isn't always smooth sailing, is it?
Not at all.
It often involves confronting deeply ingrained habits of the mind. And you need that strong, unwavering commitment to persevere through the challenges.
Ajaan Kongmaa also instructed him in walking meditation, mindfully pacing back and forth. Ajaan Jia practiced this with such intensity that his worldly desires actually started to noticeably diminish.
Really?
Yeah, he felt this genuine sense of lightness, of freedom. He could apparently walk for hours, just completely absorbed in the practice.
Walking meditation is remarkably effective, isn't it, for cultivating mindfulness in movement. It helps integrate awareness into all parts of daily life, and it can be especially good when the mind feels too restless for just sitting.
Interestingly, he actually preferred the Buddha meditation over, say, breath meditation, which is more common.
Why was that?
Because his mind was so easily distracted. He felt he needed that constant mental anchor of the Buddha mantra to keep his focus.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it highlights something crucial for your own practice, doesn't it? Finding the methods that truly resonate with your own mind rather than rigidly sticking to just one technique.
Exactly. What works well for one person might not be the best approach for another. The key is always to experiment. Find the techniques that allow for sustained attention and ultimately insight.
And get this, he even embarked on this incredibly intense 3-month quest to completely abstain from sleep.
3 months. no sleep.
That's what the text says. He described experiencing periods of profound mental clarity and stillness as a direct result.
Wow, that is extreme.
It offers this stark insight into the mind's potential when it's freed from that habitual cycle, suggesting maybe our normal waking consciousness is just scratching the surface.
That level of austerity is quite exceptional. It really speaks to the intensity of his desire for spiritual progress. Well, such practices aren't generally recommended.
No kidding.
They can, for certain individuals, lead to significant shifts in their state of consciousness.
The daily routine at the monastery was also incredibly disciplined. Meditation wasn't just for specific sitting times. It was intentionally woven into every single aspect of life.
Even mundane tasks.
Yeah, even sweeping and cleaning.
And that holistic approach is such a defining characteristic of the forest tradition. It emphasizes that mindfulness should permeate every moment, not just formal meditation periods.
There's also this amazing anecdote about Ajaan Kongmaa somehow staying completely dry under his umbrella during a torrential downpour.
Okay.
While the Supreme Patriarch, who didn't have an umbrella, got thoroughly soaked. It's these kinds of stories, whether you take them literally or symbolically, that hinted at the perceived power, the influence of profound spiritual attainment.
Yeah, those stories really serve to inspire deep faith in the transformative potential of dedicated practice. They suggest that those who deeply cultivated their inner world can develop this extraordinary mastery over themselves and maybe even, it seems, the elements.
He also embraced death meditation, Martaz, regularly reflecting on the unavoidable reality of death.
A powerful practice.
He found it helped him cultivate greater empathy for others and a deeper appreciation for just how precious and brief life really is.
Contemplation of death is so powerful for cutting through our illusions of permanence, isn't it? And for instilling that sense of urgency in our spiritual path, reminds us what truly matters in the limited time we have.
And to directly tackle the challenges of sexual attraction, he diligently practiced body contemplation.
Ah, yes. The Asupap practice.
Right. Mindfully, wisely examining alluring features to understand their impermanent and, frankly, unattractive underlying nature, really delving into the physical reality beneath the surface gloss.
That's a classic Buddhist technique for reducing attachment to the physical body, for understanding its true nature. By examining the body in that way, component by component, you can dismantle the illusions of beauty and desirability that fuel craving.
He even reached this heightened state of wakefulness, which he described as being like entering the path of the noble ones.
Wow.
Emphasizing that realizing Nibbana is a deeply personal, direct experience. No one else can do it for you.
That just underscores the vital importance of individual effort and direct personal experience in spiritual realization. The teachings, the teachers, they provide the map, the guidance.
Sure.
But ultimately, each person has to walk the path themselves to reach the destination.
And he made this really crucial distinction between what he called the thinking mind, that constant internal chatter, right? The part that gets so easily caught up in defilements.
The monkey mind.
Exactly. And the knowing mind, which is simply pure, neutral awareness. He explained that mindfulness and wisdom act as the bridge between these two, allowing for profound, insightful contemplation.
That's such a helpful distinction.
Think of your mind like a busy marketplace. The thinking mind, constant noise, transactions, thoughts, emotions, judgments. The knowing mind is like the quiet space above the marketplace, just observing without getting caught up.
Right.
Mindfulness and wisdom are the paths to get you to that quiet, observant space.
That's a great analogy. Recognizing those two aspects of our mental landscape and learning to cultivate the knowing mind through mindfulness and wisdom is absolutely central to the Buddhist path.
Now, despite the significant progress he made under Ajaan Kongmaa, he felt this strong inner pull towards Ajaan Mun.
The master.
Yeah, who already had this formidable reputation as an exceptionally strict and highly accomplished meditation teacher. He'd heard tales of Ajaan Mun's uncompromising approach.
Ajaan Mun is such a pivotal figure in the Thai forest tradition, renowned for his austerity, the profound impact he had on so many disciples. Ajaan Jia's deep desire to learn directly from him reflects that yearning for even deeper, more direct spiritual guidance.
Interestingly, even Ajaan Kongmaa himself was apparently quite skeptical at first about whether Ajaan Jia could handle Ajaan Mun's incredibly rigorous style.
Really? That suggests even Ajaan Kongmaa recognized Ajaan Jia's strong, maybe somewhat independent personality, and wondered if he'd readily submit to the even stricter discipline of another teacher.
But Ajaan Jia had his own compelling reasons. He felt this deep need for an even tougher teacher, and also for greater seclusion, away from family distractions, so he could really, really deepen his meditation.
That strong desire for solitude in a demanding environment, it's a common motivation for serious practitioners, isn't it? It's about intentionally creating the most conducive conditions for intensive inner work.
And there's this powerful story of him spending an entire night meditating under a reputedly haunted chedi.
Oh, wow.
Without any fear. While others who tried it gave up halfway, overcome by anxiety, it really hints at the growing inner strength and detachment he was cultivating.
Overcoming those deeply ingrained fears, especially in places associated with the supernatural, is often seen as a significant sign of spiritual progress. It indicates a growing freedom from the mind's habitual anxieties and attachments.
So once he finally connected with Ajaan Mun, mindfulness became the absolute bedrock of his whole meditative investigation.
And foundation.
Yeah, sustained, detached observation of the mind to get a clear, direct understanding of its workings.
Mindfulness is the bedrock of insight meditation. By observing the mind without judgment, we start to see its underlying patterns, the root causes of suffering.
He learned about the structured 5-year dependency period for junior monks in the tradition.
Right, the Vinasaya.
And the specific qualities that marked an intermediate monk as ready for independent practice. It's a very systematic approach to training within the community.
That structured training ensures monks develop a solid foundation in both the theory and the practice before venturing out alone. It emphasizes gradual, supported development.
He eventually found himself at Dang Forest Monastery under Ajaan Mun, and the conditions there were incredibly austere.
Intentionally so.
Right, creating an environment perfectly suited for serious practitioners dedicated to intensive meditation.
Yeah, the remote, simple environment of forest monasteries is designed to minimize distractions and really encourage deep introspection.
And then there are the 13 Duttagas. These intense ascetic practices monks could undertake.
The optional austerity.
Yeah, things like living solely on alms food, wearing robes made from discarded rags, dwelling in the forest, eating only 1 meal a day.
Eating only from the bowl.
Even refraining from lying down. These were all about intentionally stripping away defilements, reducing attachment to worldly comforts. Imagine the mental fortitude required for that.
These practices are such a powerful tool for breaking down deep-seated attachments to comfort and the material world. They intentionally push practitioners beyond their usual limits and cultivate this profound sense of contentment with very little.
The daily routine under Ajaan Mun was just as rigorously disciplined. Continuous mindfulness woven into absolutely every single action, from waking up to going to sleep.
Again, that constant, diligent cultivation of mindfulness is just key, bringing focused awareness to each moment, whether in formal meditation or just, daily activities.
Interestingly, Ajaan Mun actually gave Ajaan Jia a rather stern rebuke quite early on, seemingly for overstepping his bounds, maybe going over the heads of his direct teachers. The other new monks were apparently quite shaken by it, though maybe not all of them fully grasped the message.
Ajaan Mun's reputation for strictness was well-deserved. He held his disciples to incredibly high standards, wasn't hesitant to challenge them directly when needed for their development. That rebuke likely served as a crucial lesson in humility and respecting the monastic order.
Ajaan Mun himself was consistently portrayed as this truly exemplary figure, incredible energy, seemingly limitless endurance, unwavering courage, extreme frugality, and complete detachment from worldly concerns. The ultimate living example.
Those are the very qualities so highly valued in the Forest tradition. The ideals of a monk who's diligently cultivated immense inner strength and profound freedom from the entanglements of the material world.
Ajaan Mun's teachings really emphasize the undeniable reality of death, and maybe even more, the critical importance of fearing continued rebirth and its inherent suffering. He continually urged his disciples to confront and overcome their fear of death as a necessary step towards truly realizing the Dhamma.
That's a core Buddhist teaching. The cycle of birth, death, rebirth, samsara, is characterized by suffering, dukkha. Overcoming the fear of death is seen as a vital step towards liberating oneself from that cycle.
There's this really beautiful, poignant story about a lady's song, just a simple melody about suffering. And just hearing those words triggered a profound state of pure awareness in Ajaan Jia. A powerful reminder that the essence of Dhamma is inherent within us all, just waiting to be recognized.
That beautifully illustrates how even seemingly ordinary experiences can trigger profound insights when the mind is truly open, receptive. It highlights that the path to understanding can often be found in unexpected corners of daily life.
He began to gain a deeper, more nuanced understanding of the mind's many delusions, how they lead to suffering.
Right.
Which in turn fostered a growing sense of genuine happiness, inner freedom, and this profound compassion for the suffering he saw in others. His own journey opened his heart.
That's a natural and crucial progression on the path.
Yeah.
As you gain clearer insight into your own mind, the roots of your own suffering, this deep empathy and compassion for others just naturally arises.
Ajaan Mun also offered specific guidings on nimittas, those vivid meditative visions that can come up.
Ah, yes, the signs.
While acknowledging their potential, he cautioned against getting attached or distracted by them. Instead, he advised direct, mindful questioning of these experiences to understand their significance, while firmly emphasizing their ultimately illusory nature.
Right.
And the crucial need to stay focused inward.
Nimittas can be fascinating, but also potentially misleading. Ajaan Mun's guidance underscores keeping a balanced perspective, using them as areas for investigation rather than getting caught up in their allure. The focus always needs to return inward.
Ajaan Jia continued his dedicated practice of contemplating the less appealing aspects of the body and the three characteristics anicca, dukkha, anatta.
Impermanent, suffering, non-self.
Right, to diminish the body's powerful hold over his mind.
Consistent contemplation of those fundamental truths is essential for breaking down the illusion of a permanent, self-existing, satisfying self.
Ajaan Mun's own mastery of Dhamma was undeniable. He had this remarkable ability to tailor his teaching approach to suit the unique temperament and abilities of each disciple, not a one-size-fits-all teacher.
That truly highlights the mark of a gifted, insightful spiritual teacher, the capacity to understand individual needs and offer guidance precisely tailored to their circumstances and stage of development.
There was even this firm stance Ajaan Mun took against imposing vegetarianism on all monks.
Oh, interesting.
Emphasizing that true virtue comes from intention and actions, not solely from dietary choices.
That underscores a key principle in Buddhist ethics. The emphasis is on cultivating wholesome intentions and ethical conduct, rather than just adhering to external rules like diet.
He drew this clear contrast between mundane aging, focused on worldly achievements, material stuff, and super mundane aging, which is rooted in cultivating generosity, ethical conduct, dedicated meditation. Ajaan Mun himself was a prime example of this spiritual purity and its profound influence.
That offers a really valuable perspective on aging, doesn't it? Shifting focus from external achievements to inner development cultivates a lasting strength and well-being that remains even as the body changes.
Ajaan Mun taught that the mind is the very origin of all moral quality, stressing the importance of mindful awareness of our underlying intentions. Everything begins in the mind.
That aligns perfectly with the core Buddhist understanding that intention, cetana, is the driving force behind our actions, the primary determinant of their karmic consequences. Cultivating wholesome intentions is fundamental.
They discuss the intricate workings of karma, cause and effect, and the fundamental impermanence of everything conditioned.
Right.
Urging practitioners to seek inner certainty through meditation because the external world is just constant flux.
Recognizing the impermanent, ultimately unsatisfactory nature of all conditioned phenomena encourages us to turn inward, seek lasting peace and liberation within ourselves, rather than relying on the ever-changing external world.
Even the delicate topic of past life affinities and relationships came up. Ajaan Mun offered a cautionary view on the potential blindness caused by defilements in romantic attachments. Just feeling a strong connection doesn't automatically mean it's purely virtuous past life stuff.
That offers a grounded, realistic perspective on relationships, reminding us that while past influences might play a role, our present defilements and attachments can often cloud our judgment.
The immense importance of a monk's impeccable ethical conduct, sila, and cultivating the inner qualities of a true disciple were constantly emphasized. It wasn't just meditation, it was the whole way of living.
Ethical conduct provides the essential foundation upon which mental concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya, can be effectively cultivated. These three aspects of the path are deeply interconnected, mutually reinforcing.
Ajaan Jia had this truly invaluable period accompanying Ajaan Mun on his Dutaga wanderings through the forests, absorbing teachings just by observing his teacher's conduct, listening attentively, like intensive hands-on spiritual training.
Learning directly from a realized teacher through close observation and attentive listening is an incredibly powerful way to absorb both the theory and the practical embodiment of the path.
There's this extraordinary account of a vision of elephants appearing in a cave as Ajaan Mun finished his stay somewhere.
Elephants.
Yeah, offering this glimpse into his spiritual power that transcends ordinary perception.
Those accounts of extraordinary occurrences aren't uncommon in the biographies of highly realized practitioners. They often serve to inspire faith and awe. Ajaan Mun consistently adhered to the core principles of the Buddha's teachings and strongly preferred solitary practice as the most effective way to cultivate deep mindfulness and penetrating wisdom. Solitary retreat provides the necessary space and quietude for deep introspection and the profound development of both mindfulness and wisdom.
He even relied primarily on Dhamma principles and natural remedies for his health, showing this deep connection to both the spiritual and natural worlds.
That reflects a holistic approach to well-being, recognizing the interconnectedness of mind, body, and environment in maintaining health and balance.
Despite his immense spiritual power and influence, Ajaan Mun remained remarkably humble, consistently selfless in sharing resources, completely equanimous facing praise or criticism.
Those are the hallmarks of a mind that's been deeply purified, free from ego clinging, free from reactive responses to external feedback.
The impact of Ajaan Mun's teachings was described as fresh, deeply relevant, delivered with unwavering conviction, inspiring immense courage, constantly urging disciples to transcend craving and attachment. He really pushed them.
A true spiritual teacher challenges their students to move beyond their comfort zones, strive for the ultimate goal of liberation.
There's this somewhat unusual story about Ajahn Sao and a flock of crows. Yeah, highlighting his deep compassion. His presence actually led local villagers to shift their faith from a local spirit to the triple gem Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It beautifully illustrates the power of a monk's authentic presence and compassion to positively influence a community.
That anecdote really shows how genuine compassion and embodying Buddhist principles can have a truly transformative impact, shifting focus towards the path of awakening.
Then we hear about Ajahn Sao's final moments, the cremation preparations, followed by Ajaan Jia's travels and his eventual reunion with Ajaan Mun at Bangkok Monastery.
Right.
The atmosphere there is described as incredibly disciplined, monks deeply engaged, clearly inspired by Ajaan Mun's profound attainments.
The presence of a highly realized teacher creates that powerful ripple effect, deeply inspiring those around them to intensify their own spiritual endeavors.
The fundamental importance in Buddhism of forest dwelling, meditating at the base of a tree, is mentioned again, underscoring the value of nature for spiritual cultivation.
The simplicity and solitude offered by the natural environment provide that ideal setting for deep contemplation, reducing the many distractions of worldly life.
Ajaan Jia even undertook this challenging solo trek through dense jungle to rejoin Ajaan Mun.
Wow.
A journey that also highlighted the kindness and support local villagers often offered these wandering Tathagata monks, a clear sense of mutual respect.
The support and respect traditionally shown to ascetic practitioners in Buddhist societies reflect the high value placed on spiritual pursuits and those dedicated to them.
The profound inspiration Ajaan Mun's attainment provided his disciples is repeatedly emphasized. It fueled their determination. Seeing the living possibilities spurred them on.
The living example of a realized being serves as an incredibly powerful motivator, offering a tangible demonstration of the potential for enlightenment, inspiring others to persevere.
The Buddha's teaching on associating with the wise is brought up, and the remarkable example of Angulimala,
the murderer who became an arahant.
Exactly, shared to illustrate the immense power of past virtuous karma and the potential for even seemingly irredeemable individuals to transform profoundly.
That's such a powerful teaching about the transformative potential of the Dhamma, the capacity for even those with a dark past to achieve liberation through sincere practice and the fruition of past wholesome actions.
We learn about the move to the more remote wilderness around Naiman village and the significant number of monks who followed Ajaan Mun there, with specific mention of Ajaan Mahabua and a suggestion of an earlier vision of Ajaan Mun, potentially including both him and Ajaan Jia as key future figures.
Hinting at the lineage continuation, the recognition of future leaders within the tradition.
Yeah, hints at the ongoing vitality of the lineage, that intuitive recognition. And finally, in this section, the demanding yet character-building duties of attending to Ajaan Mun are described, highlighting practical monastic life, how even acts of service done mindfully become profound practice.
Serving one's teacher with mindfulness and selfless dedication is a powerful way to cultivate humility, attentiveness, and learn valuable lessons through direct experience.
So as we move into his later life, Ajaan Jia decides to return to his hometown to care for his ailing mother. Driven by filial piety and a sincere desire to share the Dhamma with his parents, hoping to repay their kindness.
That shows a beautiful balance, doesn't it? Between monastic commitments and filial duties. The desire to share the Dhamma with loved ones is a natural expression of compassion and gratitude.
And it was during this long, arduous journey home, over 400 miles, entirely on foot,
that
he experienced this profound transformative moment. The intense suffering he'd been enduring suddenly just flipped into ease, leading to a significant, deeply personal realization, a major turning point.
Those moments of sudden insight often occur after periods of intense practice and letting go, don't they? The mind, freed from its usual constraints, can just experience reality in a completely new way.
He came to understand Nibbana not as some distant mythical place, but as an inherent non-physical principle.
Right here, right now, potentially.
Exactly. A fundamental aspect of reality realized through diligent, sustained meditation, potentially within reach for all of us in this life.
That aligns with understanding Nibbana as the cessation of suffering, dukkha nirodha, a state accessible in this very life through cultivating wisdom and detachment.
He emphasized the absolute necessity of dedicated personal practice to dispel any lingering doubts, and affirmed the inherent potential for absolutely anyone to attain Nibbana through earnest effort, unwavering commitment, not reserved for a select few.
That's a core tenet of Buddhism.
Yeah.
The universality of the path to liberation.
Yeah.
Everyone has that potential to awaken.
He then retreated to a serene, secluded cave, spent time reflecting on the relative dangers of the wilderness versus the more insidious wilderness of civilized society.
The inner wilderness.
Yeah, with its pervasive mental defilements, attachments. He came to see the uncultivated mind as a far more treacherous jungle to navigate.
That's a powerful metaphor. The external wilderness might have physical dangers, but the internal wilderness of uncultivated thoughts and emotions can be far more harmful.
He later shared his reaction to hearing of Ajaan Mun's passing profound gratitude for his teacher's wisdom and guidance, coupled with a genuine sense of personal loss.
The passing of a great teacher is such a significant event for disciples, marks both an end of direct guidance and an inspiration to carry on their legacy.
He diligently paid his final respects to Ajaan Mun's remains, then wholeheartedly dedicated himself to cleaning and organizing the monastery after the cremation, a clear testament to his deep respect.
Those acts of service and remembrance are important expressions of devotion and gratitude in the monastic tradition.
Following Ajaan Lee's advice, he eventually moved to Khao Khao Monastery and just threw himself into rebuilding and expanding the facilities. Clearly not someone content to be idle.
His industrious nature continued to manifest, now channeled towards creating a conducive environment for spiritual practice for himself and others.
There's this rather humorous anecdote about his very unconventional, abrupt entrance and exit from a wedding blessing ceremony, highlighting his down-to-earth practicality and complete disregard for social norms when they seemed inefficient.
Those moments reveal his unique character, deeply committed to Dhamma, but not bound by conventional expectations.
His relentless work ethic at Khao Khao is detailed, including sometimes contentious interactions with the local headman about the pace of construction, a force of nature.
His energy and determination were clearly a driving force in developing the monastery.
Because donated tools were often poor quality, he even became a blacksmith himself.
A blacksmith monk.
Yeah. Justifying it as a skillful means, even a form of Dhamma practice hammering away at defilements.
That's resourceful. It highlights his ability to adapt, find spiritual meaning in everyday tasks, a unique interpretation of work as practice.
He imposed a notably austere meditation regimen on his disciples at Khao Khao, pushing them rigorously to confront and overcome cravings and delusions. Didn't shy away from demanding practices.
His strictness as a teacher mirrored the rigor of his own practice. He understood the intensity required for deep transformation.
His unwavering commitment to Dhamma principles and monastic discipline is clear in his resistance to worldly influences that might dilute the practice.
Maintaining the purity of the monastic environment, the integrity of the teachings, was clearly a priority for him.
We hear about interactions with both Ajaan Mahabua and Ajaan Kau. They both separately gently reprimanded him for his disruptive late-night construction work.
The noise.
Emphasizing monastic etiquette, the quiet needed for practice. Yet they also seem to tolerate his unconventional behavior, likely due to his connection with Ajaan Mun.
That illustrates the importance of community harmony in monastic life, even for dedicated practitioners. There's a balance between individual practice and communal respect.
His rather colorful, sometimes even vulgar speech is mentioned again.
Right.
Along with his belief in its occasional effectiveness in cutting through defenses, and even his mother's tolerant disapproval, just part of his direct, unfiltered way.
That aspect of his personality really challenges the typical image of a serene monk, showing profound wisdom can manifest in unexpected ways.
He was remarkably frugal with monastic requisites, led by example, carefully mending, reusing items, even teaching monks hand sewing.
Self-reliance and deep respect for resources were important to him. That frugality reflects detachment from material possessions, a practical approach.
Incredibly resourceful, salvaging discarded items, undertook significant efforts to reforest the grounds, implemented surprisingly forward-thinking water conservation.
Like what?
Including the unconventional use of wastewater and even urine for irrigation, arguably ahead of his time in sustainability.
Wow. That resourcefulness and connection to nature are admirable. Shows deep respect for the environment, a practical approach to living sustainably.
The text reflects on mixed reactions to his very strict training methods at Yenisavara Monastery, but his unwavering commitment to guiding disciples towards liberation remained steadfast.
Not all students respond well to strict discipline, but a dedicated teacher stays focused on the ultimate goal of their students' liberation.
He drew a sharp contrast between a purely materialistic worldview and the Buddhist spiritual understanding of Earth's resources, noting the subtle infiltration of materialistic values even within monastic communities.
That's an ongoing challenge for spiritual traditions in a world increasingly dominated by consumerism, maintaining core values.
He observed a difference between his earlier disciples, often from hardworking rural backgrounds, and later generations more susceptible to social distractions, less engaged in practice, reflecting changing times.
Yeah, that reflects a broader societal shift, the challenges of maintaining deep practice amidst increasing worldly distractions.
Ajahn Mahabua clearly recognized Ajaan Jia's significant spiritual potential, entrusting him with establishing Bhūridatta Forest Monastery, a significant act of faith and recognition.
That shows the respect and recognition Ajaan Jia earned from his fellow senior disciples.
We learn about Inthanin Cave, his preferred place of solitary retreat, profound solitude, natural beauty conducive to deep meditation.
The wilderness continues to be seen as that ideal setting for intense spiritual practice.
The text emphasizes the unwavering dedication, resolute spirit of forest monks who willingly embrace hardship as integral training, not an obstacle, but a testing ground.
Right, it's not about seeking physical comfort, it's about directly confronting inner challenges. Embracing hardship can be a powerful catalyst for inner growth, developing resilience.
The wilderness is described as the ideal environment to directly confront and eliminate deeply rooted defilements, stark engagement with the mind's habits.
By removing external distractions, the internal struggles become more apparent, can be addressed more directly.
Through facing dangers and solitude, consciously rejecting physical comforts, he developed remarkable inner strength, resilience, pushing far beyond perceived limits.
That kind of self-imposed austerity can lead to a profound sense of inner freedom and fearlessness.
The natural process of decay observed in a forest tree, a human corpse, served as a constant, powerful reminder of the body's impermanent nature, a core teaching.
Nature provides constant reminders of the impermanent and unsatisfactory nature of conditioned existence.
He also keenly observed the constant struggle for survival in the animal kingdom, highlighting the pervasive nature of suffering in all life forms, a fundamental Buddhist truth.
That broader perspective on suffering can deepen one's compassion and the urgency to find liberation.
His solitary wilderness living profoundly deepened his understanding of Dhamma, ultimately revealing the relative insignificance of the individual ego, the self, within the vast impersonal processes of nature.
The ingrained sense of me and mine began to dissolve.
Exactly. That realization of non-self, anatta, is a profound insight leading to liberation from ego-based clinging and suffering.
Absolutely.
He used the analogy of a thriving woodland community to illustrate the vital role of elders for resilience, renewal, even in nature.
Highlighting the interconnectedness of life, the importance of wisdom and experience.
Eventually, Ajaan Jia's declining physical health made it impossible for him to return to his beloved wilderness retreat, a poignant reminder of the body's limitations.
Even the most dedicated practitioners eventually face the realities of physical aging and decline.
There's this particularly touching story of Ajaan Mun gifting Ajaan Jia one of his teeth.
A tooth.
Yeah, which some interpret symbolically, maybe foresight, of the future Chedi construction in Ajaan Mun's honor.
Interesting. That act, literal or symbolic, signifies maybe a passing of the torch, recognition of Ajaan Jia's future role.
The text then details the extensive construction of the Ajaan Mun Bhūridatta Memorial Chedi, impressive marble structure, gleaming gold spire, sacred enshrinement of relics, a major undertaking.
That act of building a memorial chedi is a way to honor the teacher, create a focal point for the community's faith and practice.
Despite his own increasing physical limitations, paralysis, persistent pain, Ajaan Jia remained deeply involved in every stage of the Chedi project. Incredible dedication.
His unwavering commitment, despite severe physical challenges, is truly inspiring, a powerful testament to his gratitude and devotion.
The formal, significant consecration ceremony of the Chedi's spire is recounted, marking the culmination of a long, dedicated effort.
A fitting tribute to Ajaan Mun's profound influence.
The Buddhist understanding of our fundamental knowing awareness is explained as timeless, inherently boundless, radiant, but often obscured by delusion.
Right.
It's these delusions, the text explains, that create the false sense of a separate self, the experience of duality.
A concise summary of the ultimate nature of reality in Buddhist philosophy and the root cause of suffering.
The death of an arahant, an enlightened being, is described as complete disintegration of body and mind, no remaining karmic traces for rebirth, revealing the ultimate voidness of the perceived self.
The cycle of suffering and rebirth comes to a definitive end. That's the ultimate liberation in Buddhism, complete cessation of suffering, ending the cycle.
Finally, the profound meaning behind Ajaan Mun's epithet for Ajaan Jia, gold wrapped in rags, is fully revealed.
Oh, yeah.
Recognizing the inherently pure, radiant awareness beneath his often rough, unconventional outward appearance, it all comes together.
It really does. That beautiful metaphor perfectly encapsulates Ajaan Jia's journey, the seemingly unrefined outward appearance concealing a deeply realized inner being.
Ajaan Jia's life is summarized not just spiritually, but an individual with the five aggregates the components of our experience, a distinct personality shaped by his karmic inheritance. Yet, beneath all that, his fundamental knowing awareness underwent a profound, liberating transformation.
That provides a balanced view, doesn't it? Acknowledging his unique history and personality while highlighting the profound liberation of his underlying awareness.
His innovative, persistent meditation practices led to heightened alertness, direct realization of a serene, luminous knowing essence, overcoming the fear of death, cultivating immense courage.
His unique approach shows the path can be diverse, can involve pushing traditional boundaries to achieve profound insight and liberation.
The body section concludes with that powerful Pali phrase, Nibbana Paramai Sukha.
Nibbana is the supreme happiness, the ultimate aim, a truly fitting conclusion to exploring his path.
So as we bring our deep dive to a close, we see Ajaan Jia Cundo's life was truly unconventional, marked by incredibly rigorous practice, profound connection to the forest tradition under Ajaan Mun, and his eventual deep realization, all despite that outwardly ragged persona. What stands out to you is the power of Ajaan Mun's description. Gold wrapped in rags. It really is the central theme, isn't it? Highlighting that true worth isn't always visible on the surface.
Absolutely. That image, gold wrapped in rags, it encapsulates the essence of his journey, a potent reminder that true spiritual worth often lies beneath outward appearances.
It really makes you think, how often do we judge based on the outside? Our final thought for you today is this. Take a moment, maybe, to consider how you might look beyond superficial appearances in others, perhaps even in yourself, to recognize the potential for profound wisdom, liberation that might be hidden in the most unexpected places.
That raises an important question, doesn't it? What rags might be obscuring the potential for wisdom and compassion within yourself and in those you encounter?
If Ajaan Jia's inspiring story resonated with you and you want to explore his teachings further, you can find the complete text of Gold Wrapped in Rags, plus other valuable works by Ajaan Dick Sīlaratano, all freely available on the Forest Dhamma Monastery website. That's www.forestdhamma.org. It's a truly remarkable account.
It's also worth acknowledging the collaborative effort detailed in the book's Stars section, recognizing the many individuals who contributed time, effort, interviews, translation, design, editing to bring Ajaan Jia's extraordinary story to a wider audience.
A beautiful example of shared dedication. And with that profound thought, our deep dive into the life of Ajaan Jia Cundo concludes for today. We'll catch you next time for another exploration into the depths.